Home is where the heart is, whether it's a huge mansion or a tiny home. The world keeps getting bigger in population and smaller in terms of space, and has led to some people abandoning traditionally large houses for some rather small ones. Some of these people did it for the environment, some of them due to financial restraints, while others simply thought it looked cool. From homes literally built inside a shipping container, homes that incorporate the beautiful nature around them, to homes that are more traditional and just work. All of these are amazing in their own way. Let's get started. Number 12. Shipping Container Home. This is a 2-story home from Chillicothe, Ohio, that's made almost entirely out of a shipping container. The house was named The Helm by its owners, and it features a rather spacious living area, leased by tiny home standards. At the bottom floor and the top floor features a modest and cozy bedroom that takes up about half of the top floor, and it leads to a rooftop deck which takes up the other half of the top floor. The total area occupied by the house is only 480 square feet, and it's located in the woods of Ohio. The owners have put the home up on Airbnb, and it's usually used by folks who want to go camping in the woods with a bit more comfort. Number 11. 3-story tiny house in Texas. Most tiny homes are usually 1 or 2 stories, but this tiny home in Texas has 3. The house is called the Acorn Tree House, and it's located in the Honey Tree Farms inside Texas. This one is also used as an Airbnb, and it's about the most perfect house you can think of from a place called Honey Tree Farms. It's only around 300 square feet and is surrounded by trees, with the house almost blending into them. At the bottom level, there is a sort of enclosed living area with its own jacuzzi, eating area, barbecue, and swing. On the second level, there is a small kitchenette with all the basics you might need at the entrance. And as you go further in, you get to the bedroom. The bedroom is actually quite spacious and even has a huge king-size bed. There's also a place to sit and to work, a storage space, a window with a gorgeous view, and a decently sized open bathroom. The top level has a really cozy open balcony, along with a semi-open patio with amazing view of the farms. Number 10. Basic Tiny Home. Not all tiny homes have to be this fancy work of art. Some of them need to look like basic homes, and that's what this tiny house is like. This is a basic tiny home designed by Woodland that many people around the world have used, and it shows how you can easily use 320 square feet of space for an entire home. Nothing in this home feels too cramped, and it has a decent-sized bedroom, a spacious living room/kitchen area, and a full-size bathroom. This home is perfect for those people who just need the bare minimum without having to sacrifice the essentials. If you're a couple with no kids, this might just be all you need. Number 9. All-natural tiny home. Traditional suburban houses are actually terrible for the environment. Not only do they take up a lot of space, but they also use materials that can cause a lot of pollution or CO2 emissions. This family wanted to put an end to that while also having their own disconnected house, so they decided to make a tiny home made up entirely of natural materials. Earth, sand, and straw are the main materials used to make this home, and they were able to spend as little as $20,000 to complete it. It's slightly on the larger side at around 800 square feet in living space, and the oval design is simply gorgeous. This isn't for everyone, but this family of 3 certainly seems to enjoy it. Number 8. Tiny cabin in the snow. Jacob Harrell was a man who got laid off from his job and decided he's had enough, and set out to build a beautiful tiny home all by himself from scratch. He documented the whole process on his YouTube channel as he used the bare minimum materials to build an actually livable cabin. This is one of the smallest houses on our list, and the bed is located at the top of the inside of the single-story house and is only accessible by a ladder. There's also a kitchen and a living room. This house is perfect if you're a minimalist, and even if you're not, this is still a gorgeous home. Number 7. Tiny Woodland Home. Love was a somewhat popular band in the 1960s, and its members were quite prominent in the hippie movements. One of the former band members, Albin Snoopy Pfisterer, decided to leave the public eye after the end of the band and retire in a cozy little home for the rest of his life. And recently, he has decided to show it off to the world. It's located in the middle of a lush green forest and is made out of local stone or wood. There's probably no better way to incorporate a house with nature than the way this house does it. Even the interior is mostly made out of wood, and this wood isn't even perfectly manicured, but rather left in a mostly natural state. Number 6. The Pod. Back to the minimal tiny homes with the Pod. This is a tiny home that's located in Tasmania, Australia, and is around 430 square feet in area. This tiny home doesn't hold back from becoming modern. Pretty much everything from the entrance to the window is digital. There's no extravagance to it, but it is quite futuristic. It's a little unconventional as everything from the kitchen to the living area to the bedroom in this house is all stacked with one room instead of being separated by walls. But it gives it a chance to make it seem more spacious, which the house does perfectly. Overall, this is a beautiful house with a gorgeous view that doesn't feel too cramped, and you can even book it on Airbnb. Number 5. Tiny Hawaiian Cabin. When you live in Hawaii, why would you even want to be in a big house when you can enjoy the beautiful scenery outside all the time? That's why the owners of this home in Hawaii decided to build a tiny home, where half the living space is actually outdoors. Much like the previous house, there are no separated rooms except for the bathroom. The house features a beautiful wooden-inspired design with a cozy fireplace right outside. Although it's Hawaii, so you're not exactly going to be using it much. This house actually feels quite spacious, as the owners have designed it almost perfectly, and we can't think of a better vacation home to have. Number 4. Semi-mobile tiny home. Here's one tiny home that you can't even call tiny because space is used so efficiently. Built by musician Asha Mavlana, this house consists of two parts, one solid tiny home and another mobile tiny home, which also acts as the main bedroom of the house. When Asha is on the road, she can take the mobile section wherever she wants and also not have to worry about the upkeep of a large home. The house's main section is the entire living space with no bedroom in it. The house's porch doubles as a stage where Asha sometimes performs for her neighbors. And overall, this is a simply stunning tiny home that doesn't feel cramped at all. Number 3. Tiny Bus Home. This tiny home in New Zealand is made entirely by recycling an old bus. Located in the stunning New Zealand countryside, this house is actually home to a family of 4. The couple who built it say they didn't really need a big house and just needed some place to sleep after they were done taking care of their farm. The inside of the house feels spacious while keeping in mind it's still a tiny house. There is some beautiful woodwork that you'll find all over it. There is a condensed version of practically everything you can imagine, from a full-sized home fit into this cozy tiny home. Number 2. Tiny home for 5 people. Tiny homes tend to be a bit plain or natural, but this tiny home attempts to be as modern as possible. Located in the middle of the forest, half of this house is simply a patio, while there are 2 stories to the house itself. While it doesn't use any expensive futuristic technology, it manages to use some absolutely gorgeous modern design elements that perfectly contrast the perfect natural surroundings that it's in. The couple that built this house mostly spend their time outdoors, so they never really needed a large house. Number 1. The most clever tiny home. Shay is a tiny home enthusiast who has built many tiny homes of her own. As we all know, it takes a lot of trial and error to reach perfection, but Shay might have finally done it now. This is one tiny home that doesn't just feel efficient, but it actually feels big. You wouldn't even be able to tell whether you're in a tiny home or not when you're in this house. The house perfectly blends in with the nature surrounding it. It has a modern yet classic look to it. There is a nice little outdoor area with outdoor seats and a hammock. Inside, there is a spacious living room with an attached kitchen, a separate bed and bath that seem quite spacious as well. This might be as good as a tiny home as we can get. Alright, comment below which of these tiny homes blew your mind the most. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to TechJoint, and we'll see you in the next one.